Hello and welcome to all the lads and lasses from Walton Baker Whitley Beer. This is the Miles Offside podcast where we'll talk a little bit of football and a whole lot of nothing. Sorry. My name's Charlie Bailey. And I can't keep doing this. Where's the bacon? And you're listening to one of our pre-season special pods, if you couldn't tell, because normally people think I sound like Ian anyway on this pod. Thanks, Oscar's family. We are doing another one of our Patreon pre-season specials. This week, we're talking about Newcastle. Now, you may be thinking, we don't have anyone that supports Newcastle. And you'd be right. But we thought it's such a big story. We need to bring someone in, a much-loved person. So please welcome Mr. Tom Townley.
How are you, Chuck, lad? How are you going?
Aye, going good, mate. Going good. That's all I've got, seriously.
I can't even believe it, on the pod. How are you?
Here at last.
Yeah, I'm done too. Yeah,
cool.
We did well. We
never found the bacon.
No.
So you are a Bolton fan, yes?
Yes. You've got Bolton and Newcastle. They line up perfectly, right?
Okay, yeah. I mean, I can't. You're going to have to help me join the dots here. What is, apart from me, you obviously being a bloody lovely bloke, why are you here?
For nothing else to do, is there really? I'm a bit warm and evening to myself, so might as well. No, I'm here because, as you say, I'm a Bolton fan by right. Have been since I had the ability to sort of choose allegiance back when I was a 10, 11-year-old or something. However, I went to university in Newcastle. And a long story short, I spent all my student loan before I realised I had to then pay for accommodation through the summer.
Yep.
As you do.
As you do.
And decided I need a job. And I had a friend who was working at a pub. And she said, "Oh, do you want to come up? They're hiring." I said, "Yeah, why not?" And I went and worked at the Strawberry, which, if anyone knows Newcastle, is a quite a small pub, but right on the corner of the Gallagate and East Stand of St James's Park. So it was match days, European nights, all the big games back then, 2005-ish.
I was going to say, you are showing your age then, if you're talking about Newcastle and European nights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. It was a better time. But yeah, I worked there, and you kind of have to get involved with it, don't you? So for 3 years, I was definitely a steady Newcastle fan, after Bolton, of course.
Of course.
But as time's gone on, I've drifted, definitely. But still, I still prefer them to do well than not well.
Gotcha, okay.
So that's my tenuous link, if you like.
As someone that my only real knowledge of Newcastle is from via football, really. As someone who's lived up there, what's it like? What's the connection to the city with football in general?
I live in Manchester at the moment, so you've got City, you've got the Scum, etc. And they all make out that this big, huge football city, etc. But it is absolutely nothing compared to Newcastle. The mood of the city is defined by Saturday at 3:00.
Right.
If Newcastle win, everywhere you go for the next 7 days, everyone's really happy. Everyone's very chatty. They'll talk to you about the match. They'll talk to you about the next match coming up. Everything is sunshiny. If they lose, it's not so fun. Again, I think it kind of depends on the match and the manner of the defeat and yada, yada, yada. But generally speaking, that whole city is defined by the results of the football. You go out in Big Market after a match and they've won, everyone's happy, the fights are generally jovial. If you go out in Big Market after they've lost, the fights probably end up in a lot more sort of police action, etc., etc.
Right, okay.
Just to give you an idea, but
yeah. I mean, Newcastle fights, police activity. There have been no famous documented cases of that in the last few years, of course.
No, I don't believe that the Newcastle fans have ever got on the wrong side of the law in a generally sort of public surrounding and assaulted any farmyard animals.
No. Working that animals or not.
That wouldn't happen.
No, so it's fair to say it kind of makes sense then. So what you said, that it is hugely impacted by football. So kind of going on, I guess similar to the way we did with Andy when we did the Chelsea pod. This one that we're doing is kind of based on a takeover narrative as well. So What kind of thoughts do you have from, Newcastle last season, and obviously the takeover that is definitely not the Saudi Arabian government or the country that has bought him, it's just the public wealth fund that has all of the money. What are kind of your thoughts, your takes on that, and kind of how that's been impacted by those that you know that are Newcastle?
I'm glad you cleared up the money issue there, because there's been a bit of confusion in the past.
Well, it's a real grey area. Like, we just need to say it is not the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that own Newcastle United.
I think they made it quite clear, to be honest, when they did the takeover. So
yeah, and their third kit being the Saudi Arabia away kit, that's not a connection at all.
No. Green and white. It's the colour of Leeds Park, which is just behind St James's. So
there you go. A football pitch is green and white. Easy. Yeah, exactly. But no, the takeover, the Newcastle fans that I know and have spoken to, they understand that it's definitely not the money of the Saudi Arabian government, and they understand sort of where it's come from. But I think, like you guys have said on the main pod several times, find me a clean, well-meaning billionaire, etc., etc. And they have suffered one of the most miserable ownerships of God knows how long under Ashley, watching their ground literally crumble around them because he has done zero maintenance and absolutely nothing outside of buying some very lukewarm players and selling nobody particularly to make any sort of headway. So the fact that they all of a sudden have this huge open opportunity to really make something of their club, I 100% get why there were the scenes that we saw when the takeover happened. Everybody out there with the flags and, dressing up. Yeah, probably not the best. But still, in the heat of the moment, I can totally understand it from their side of it. And likewise, I think they're relatively, Twitter might tell you differently, but relatively understanding that, you're not signing Mbappe. This isn't going to be an overnight, right, we sign all the big players within the Champions League. It's going to take time. And I think because we've seen it before, we've seen it with City in particular, where they suddenly have this huge influx of money, and they've gone from a very middle-of-the-road, mid-table, at best kind of team to suddenly best team in the world. I think there's a bit of a blueprint that they've seen in the past and can think, right, okay, well, this is what they did, we can do the same. And that probably takes a little bit of pressure off the team to suddenly work miracles and, end up second, third in the league, etc. Yeah, exactly. It's the Man City. Obviously, we have PSG as well that were kind of the state-owned analogue. But City in this country, that's the most kind of the closest that we've got to this in recent times, especially. So, are there any kind of similarities you've seen in City starting out and buying players to what Newcastle were doing at the minute?
Not so much buying players, but if you look at City, they, about 2008, they would say they had their big takeover, and it took them 4 years to win the Prem after that. So first season after they got the money, they came 10th, then 5th, then 3rd, I think, and then they won it. They also won an FA Cup, and they got into the Champions League. So that was sort of all the boxes tick, 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 tick. We've done that in 4 years, happy days. And in that time, they spent a shitload of money.
Do you have the breakdown of that, or
I don't have the full breakdown. Just went for the first season, the first summer transfer season. They spent about over 100 million on Gareth Barry, Roque Santa Cruz, Kolo Touré, Emmanuel Adebayor, Carlos Tevez, and Julian Lescott. So they very much said, "Here's a ton of money. Let's go out and buy some fairly recognised players who all do their jobs and can, galvanise the team really well, and we'll go from there." Then, after that, you had Aguero, Balotelli, Yaya, Touré, Silva, etc. All these names sort of followed.
Yeah, exactly. So, the big names.
Yeah, exactly. And after they won the league in 2012, to next season they stopped spending, like hugely massive drop off in their spends, and they
probably remembered FFP came in about then or something.
Yes, because that stops them, doesn't it? Generally,
it definitely does. It's stopping Barca, so it's fine.
Oh, God, there's a whole other podcast for you.
Levers.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, once they stopped spending, it became noticeable. They didn't really challenge for the league. they got knocked out in the qualifiers or first round of Champions League, and they lost the FA Cup to Wigan.
Yes.
I mean, who loses an FA Cup to Wigan? So yeah, the money kind of then started up again, and it was okay, we have to pay to play here, and you sort of got into that routine. I think now they've become such a huge force now that they can ease back. I mean, I think they've done the hard work, but Newcastle are going to have to probably follow a similar sort of trend if that's what they're looking to do. I
mean, I'd argue the difference is because did the City takeover come in the summer? I feel like it was out of season.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Or very close to the end of the season.
Right. Okay. Because I can see a lot of similarities then in what Newcastle have done, at least in the winter. I mean, players like Kieran Trippier, Chris Wood, Dan Burn, Matt Targett are all really decent quality, all improved the squad of Newcastle whilst not necessarily being like the best in their positions in the world.
I'd argue that Chris Wood was simply used to torpedo Burnley and isn't a very good player. But,
I mean, yes, that too. But Bruno Guimaraes is kind of the big one there. That was a big surprise to a lot of the stats nerds and people who knew Ligue 1 a lot better than we did. But he's kind of already shown his quality a bit. And now this window, I mean, if you look on Twitter, they're being linked with literally everyone, as is to be expected. From the richest club in the world. But I think, again, they've made Matt Targett a permanent signing. They brought in Sven Botman, the centre-back who they needed. They brought in Nick Pope, again, just stripping Burnley. And who knows where else they're going to improve. So, I mean, I think there's kind of similarities there, right? They've spent 60 million, according to Transfermarkt, this summer already. But it's going to be a lot more, surely. There's big spending today.
They've basically done away with the whole back line, haven't they? And refreshed that, which is what they needed to do. I mean, they were conceding tons of goals and not scoring a huge amount, which is why they were struggling so much.
Yep.
And if you look at what happened after the takeover and how, etc., you look at the stats on that, then that's what they did. They shored up at the back and they stopped losing games, started drawing games, and then moved them on to wins. So they did exactly what they needed to do to start with, and now I think they really need to move into the getting some strikers, getting some attacking mids. They've got Guimaraes, who's, as I say, proven himself very quickly and become a massive fan favourite. They've got the talent of St. Maximin and various others who...
Callum Wilson, if he stays fit, always the same asterisk over Callum Wilson.
Absolutely. If you get premium Callum Wilson, you're golden, but you get him for 6 weeks at a time. You need... I mean, he'd be a brilliant backup, so he doesn't have to play all the minutes, he doesn't have to get injured. But a backup to who? They need to sign someone, and they've been linked with, as you say, pretty much everyone, but Alexander Isak.
I mean, today, Alexander Isak. I've seen stuff that they're putting in bids for Jack Harrison, which is an interesting one for Leeds. I can't see Leeds getting rid of Rafinha, Phillips, and Harrison in this window like that. That's a whole separate podcast again. But that's
24 million is cheap.
Yeah, it is.
I think for Jack Harris, I think that'll get turned away straight away.
Definitely. Potentially Ivan Toney, they trying to get him back.
Yeah, can't recommend him, can you, though?
I just can't recommend. Ian can't. I can. But yeah, it's hard to comment on the Twitter and transfer sagas, but I think it's fair to say, Newcastle probably going to hold out for a little while and make some more decent signings and then probably splash big on some punts as they were.
The one that's the most interesting to me is Lucas Paqueta, the guy from Lyon. Brazil international attacking midfield. Where's the number 10 for Brazil? Now, I did some research for this, and I had a look at him on YouTube.
Classic, yeah. Was it a good welcome to Arsenal Football Club montage? Because that's usually where you see them, because they think they're signing everyone.
No, that's not the one. Yeah, just some sort of like silhouettes in the background of who it could possibly be, and no reveal. No, he looks good. He's got a big frame. He's got speed. He's got skills. He's got running in and out. He can finish. He can assist. He's done pretty well. He's scoring about 1 in 3, 1 in 4 for an attacking mid at Lyon, Brazil. He scored some important goals. In
connection with Guimaraes, obviously playing together before. Both Brazilian, like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and he, if he got a bit more final product than Saint Maximin, then put, him in there as well, then that looks a bit more frightening. Because I love Saint Maximin. He's brilliant to watch. He's a character. He's great on Twitter. The fans absolutely love him. But his final delivery is not quite there. He's
fine in the team. The way he plays at the minute, I think he's fine in a team that's battling relegation and needs one person. But I watched last year, and as Newcastle became a better, more competent team, which isn't necessarily saying much, that is very much a backhanded compliment.
Yes.
And I still don't like Eddie Howe, but we'll get onto that in a minute. I thought they looked better and played better without him in the team, because he didn't need to be doing 800 step overs and trying to dazzle people to get other people up the pitch with him. Like, they were already there, so it's just about them moving the ball and becoming a bit more efficient. But we say about the way they changed system. Eddie Howe came in on the 8th of November in 2021. He was there for 27 games, so a good chunk, and they got 44 points in that time, which would have been good enough for 6th at that point. Same if you'd have extrapolated that over the season, they would have finished 6th on about 62 points, which would have been ahead of Man United, which is nice. It's always nice.
Always nice.
And I definitely didn't expect it and didn't want it, because I don't like Eddie Howe. I don't trust him. He reminds me of Alan Pardew, and I don't think he's going to be there very long if anything doesn't go right.
He's not got a 5.5-year contract then?
I believe Alan Pardew's was a 7.5 year, but that was to do. I'm going to have to say allegedly on this, I guess. Not that we're ever going to get sued for libel, but apparently he had massive gambling debts and they paid him off, and he was only on about 40k a year as a Newcastle manager, and that's why things went downhill. Allegedly. But yeah, can you see, I mean, if things go wrong, they're not going to stick by Howe, right? They only gave him a 2.5-year contract anyway, so that's, buyout, see you later.
No, I think the thing with Howe is he's kind of done it a bit before. He's been in the Prem before. He does have a relatively modern way of looking at stuff, and he can get a team together and moving in the same direction. But I think that's all he's really good for. He's not going to be taking them to the heights that they're going to be aiming for. He's not going to be firing them into Europe and beyond, winning cups, etc. But he's probably the person to steady the ship and start pointing them up the table. I mean, I can't remember where I've put them in the Predictor League, but it's somewhere between 7th and 9th, 7th, 8th, 9th, somewhere in there. I don't see that they're going to make huge steps, but they want to be getting in the mix with Leicester and West Ham and United and Arsenal. I put Spurs slightly above that group.
You did. You put Spurs. I mean, I've got your Predictor League here, and you actually did put Newcastle 8th. You did also predict yourself to win the Golden Boot, though. So pinch of salt with your predictions.
Never stop believing.
Never
Chuck.
stop believing.
It could happen. Newcastle are in for everybody. So
this is true. Just
when the call comes,
release yourself a little montage.
After they've heard this, they'll be like, right, okay,
this guy.
Yeah. This guy, didn't read the T's and C's on that one. But yeah, I think Howe can get them in the right direction. But I think they're going to need to sign someone with more experience at the really top level.
I mean, they're building everything around it. I mean, people, as much as I, no secret, I absolutely hate Brighton. But their old sporting director Dan Ashworth, he had links to the FA as well, which is why they got so many good decisions. But he's been pinched by Newcastle as well, which I think is a good thing, because it's fair to say the people at the very top, they aren't necessarily going to be football people in that way, and you don't want, or Newcastle fans certainly don't want, another Man United situation where you've got owners that are distant and don't understand. I don't think they would be like that. Man United are very much an exception to that kind of thing.
I think the owners are making quite a good effort, to be honest, to really engage with the fans. And
they're really committing to the sports washing.
Yeah. But Amanda Staveley pops up all over the place, shaking hands and saying all the right things. And they, at the moment, anyway, obviously it's all new, etc. They do seem to be making that effort, and the fans are, generally quite on board with it all. And as I
it's quite an easy sell after Mike Ashley throwing up in fireplaces. Let's face it.
Oh God, that guy! I mean,
what a man, saving the high street. He didn't buy Derby in the end, did he? What a shame.
No, Derby've got a chance. But hopefully not this season. We're going to stuff them and Peterborough scum. But yeah, I think that Howell he'll probably get this season and keep them somewhere in the top half. Maybe get into a quarter-final, semi-final of some cup, etc. And there'll be enough belief and enough sort of, we might just get there to keep everyone on board. Yeah. But then realistically, someone will come round and they'll really want to start signing big names next year. I think they'll want to be trying to, really push the boat out a bit, and you're not going to drag people in by saying, "Ooh, come on, be managed by Eddie Howe."
Yeah, probably not. I mean, he's good for kind of galvanising that system, I think. But yeah, I've got Newcastle 10th. I think that's probably a similar to yourself, a justification that you kind of take the teams in clusters. I think Leicester are in a fairly bad spot for them. They have to sell to buy at the minute, so I can easily
lots of links to Tielemans as well.
Madison going as well.
And this is the old Newcastle buy your opponent's players. Could work out quite nicely. Well, one of my favourite transfers was that Emmanuel Dennis and Maxwell Cornet have been offered them. As in, we literally don't want them, please take them and give us some money. Which I thought said quite a lot for their performances last season.
Oh, that's a shame. Because Emmanuel Dennis was Watford's top scorer, wasn't he? So it says a lot.
Triple captain for -2 or something, I seem to remember. Nightmare.
It'd be -6, wouldn't it? So
I can't remember. Talking of FPL, yeah, I think that's an actual nice segue. So I think we're both fairly set on Newcastle breaking into the top half, which again kind of matches with what you said. City first year after buyout, hitting 10th. I don't think that's unreasonable. I can equally see them finishing 6th. I think that would be a stretch. I'd be amazed if they got that far.
Yeah, I mean, it's other teams have strengthened well, but I think in that mid-pack cluster, things can happen. You only have to be consistent. Really.
West Ham did it for a good while, didn't they? Leicester obviously did, and no, it could happen. I'll be very surprised, but you never know.
Yeah. But FPL, Fantasy Premier League. Have you looked at any Newcastle players? Are you thinking about them? Do you have any in your team?
I have Mr. Gimaresh in my team.
Yeah.
At the moment, I believe. God knows
for what it's worth.
Absolutely nothing, but
20th of July we're recording now, so you're on. You've got about another 30 different drafts to go, I believe.
At least, yeah. No, Newcastle's an interesting one. There's definitely some options in there, but with their start to the season, I think they're very much going to be a first wildcard team. They've got Liverpool, they've got City, they've got Wolves away.
Easy.
As well as Forest and another one I can't remember. Brighton. Oh yeah, that team. Seaweed. So good start for 2 games. So if you want to really start off with someone and then jump off, they've got people in the price bracket that would allow you to do so.
I'd argue that your Newcastle players are probably going to be a rotation anyway. So those two, the City and Liverpool. I mean, Wolves, I'm not concerned about. At all. As Andy Penprace will note, they're awful, and they have done nothing to change my opinion on that. But then obviously after the City and Liverpool, Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford, this is a tasty run for the first half.
Run, yeah.
But exactly like you said, a wild card or whatever up to when does the World Cup start? Game week 16, I believe.
Something like there's a good run in that sort of second block where there's a variety of people you might actually consider. I mean, they bought Nick Pope in, and as we all know, he's FPL gold when he's on form.
Yep.
5 million, so achievable.
Mm-hmm.
Even against the likes of City and Liverpool, you're hoping for save points, BPS, etc., etc. He could ride through that and still get you sort of 3 or 4 through those, as well as some good points against the lesser teams. You've got Trippier, defence. Obviously, he's on his free kicks, etc., which is the big pull for him. I've seen him in quite a lot of drafts, actually, that I've seen around. And he was out injured for so long last season. He's kind of possibly under the radar to the casual player, but not the football perverts.
Not the football perverts, yeah.
No, they know. And then there's a sort of sea of 4.5s. I had Share quite a bit at the end of last season. He came up trumps with a few goals and the odd assist here and there. when they were winning games and keeping clean sheets. He did actually go off injured in the pre-season against Mainz, but they've said it's just like a calf crampy thing, so likely to still be starting. But again, they've got so many defenders now.
It depends if they're going
start.
to. Yeah, I mean, you'd think you can't imagine Botman's come in not to start.
No.
Dan Burn was good for them, so he'll probably be their target, and Trippier. It's just whether they go for a three at the back type thing. But yeah, there is actually, looking at them, there's lot of defenders there. I'd expect people like Lascelles to get moved on. Probably not Richie, because Eddie Howe loves him. He looks like a little Gordon Ramsay.
Got half of the Bournemouth team.
But I think you're right. There's definitely value to be had in a lot of teams this year. And Newcastle, if we are expecting them to be a top half team, more attacking, could be good value there. So, and Guimaraes, I like Guimaraes at a 6 million. I've had him in one draft. So
he scored 5, got 1 assist in about 1,000 minutes. So from someone who just came into a new squad, a bit like Diaz at Liverpool, he seemed to fit in very quickly. Very similar sort of direct play and opening things up and being aggressive. So if that's what they're going to aim towards, I think he's a very good outlet for that. And again, at 6 million, he's a bargain really. So he's the top tip. And up front,
there we go.
Wilson is 1.5 million more than Chris Wood, and
worth every pence of that
if he's fit. Yeah, but 7.5, you can have Watkins. You can spend $500,000 more for someone like Twitter's darling Gabriel Jesus, or $500,000 less for Ivan Toney. So I just can't see why you would spend money on Wilson, who is injury prone, and likelihood is within the next month will be replaced.
It's just whether he takes up the Aguero mould of in FPL. When he's fit, own him. The second he gets any sort of small injury, get rid, because it's going to be exaggerated and take longer, which happened a lot of times. And Eddie Howe is an absolute bastard for not talking about injuries and not being helpful to an FPL player. Let's just say that.
Oh, I remember the Ryan Fraser injury. He scored a hat-trick. I benched him because Eddie Howard said, God knows what he'd said. Yeah, absolutely. No, spot on with that one.
Yeah.
But again, he's in the bracket. There's plenty around him, so you can jump on and off quite easily with him.
Yeah.
But I personally won't be touching him.
But the main thing to take out of that is don't trust Eddie Howe.
Yes.
Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you about Newcastle. We didn't even talk about it. You're even enjoying a lovely brown ale, aren't you?
I am. It is delicious and refreshing.
Absolutely. Thank you very much to all of you. We'll be back soon with another guest. We've got plenty of teams lined up. Get in touch with me on Twitter if you support a team. I don't think I've got anyone for Villa, Wolves, Leicester, Palace if you want to talk to me. Man United if you're that way inclined.
Oof, that's a tough gig.
Yeah, I wouldn't be bothered with that. But yes, thank you very much, Tom. You can join us on Patreon. There's plenty of stuff going on. Predictor League. Check out our Twitter at MilesOffsidePod. Take care and bye-bye.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, and thank you everybody else involved with the pod who puts it all together and takes the time. It's you put a lot of effort in. I think everyone appreciates it. Join the Slack, guys, and come and have a chat.
Yeah, £5 in the post to Tom. Cheers.
Bargain.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.